a lot of people's businesses were born out of the pandemic, but I'm also well aware a lot of businesses didn't make it during that time. Some of my favorite restaurants, small business owners, even some of our bigger, chain stores didn't even make it during that time. And that is when a lot of things shifted. But in this case, it shifted to my favor in having an online business and in having the style of podcast that I have where it's very resonant. Is that a word? We're going to go with it. It sounded really smart. Where it is potent, it is vulnerable. We talk about the matters of the mind. We talk about trauma. We talk about our shit. Chapter 3, the season where the world stopped and my business unexpectedly skyrocketed. Right before the world shut down, ProjectME was finally finding its rhythm. My audience was growing, my offers were gaining traction, the momentum was building, and then everything changed overnight. The routines, the plans, the entire landscape of how people lived, worked, and coped. And I had to adjust how I spoke to my people. But I didn't expect what happened next. My podcast didn't slow down, it surged. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. Here we are. We're at chapter 3, baby. And this is when we all hit that unprecedented times that none of us expected, where we were all going to die of dysentery. Shout out Oregon Trail. Who's old enough where that was your highlight if you got to play that in school? Thank you so much. And if you really think about that game, that was like an OG computer game. Think about like how traumatizing that is. Like everyone was constantly dying of the plague. Basically, we had the plague enter our world. None of us could have predicted this. I actually didn't believe it was real when there were whisperings of it. I was out of the country and I was in the Dominican. And I got to tell you, I'm glad that I made it back. I really was like, oh, this is silly. This is just some other fear mongering, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, well, little did I know. So when we have something that happens that is just so jarring, that is happening on a worldwide level, or maybe it's happening, in a specific population of your people level, it could be country based, it could be religion based, whatever, and you have a business and you have a brand, you are responsible for being able to connect with your people where they're at that time. That's why my podcasts, I do not batch them way in advance unless I'm traveling, then I'll do things in advance. But typically, they're really really fresh, and that's why they connect. They don't seem like they're tone deaf. Obviously, if you're going back and listening to old episodes, there'll be references just like, in old TV shows that won't be relevant now, but it'll actually, be interesting down memory lane. And, we had to stay home, right? And I'm a homebody. There's a lot of people who were thriving during this time, but I don't like being controlled or trapped coming from an abusive childhood. And I couldn't go to the gym because I wasn't going to wear a mask and work out and pass out. I'm not interested. There were things that I did regularly that I couldn't do. Thankfully, I didn't have a business that was based on in-person stuff. And it made me realize, thank God I started Project Me. And it wasn't just all about my agency I had, because my agency is heavily reliant on doing a lot of in-person type of thing. And now all we had to communicate with one another was using technology. And thankfully, we had it. We were able to do that. We would have gone insane. I mean, don't you remember how people would have like they would have like literal Zoom parties, wine tasting on Zoom. That people would do cooking shows. A lot of people's businesses were born out of the pandemic, but I'm also well aware a lot of businesses didn't make it during that time. Some of my favorite restaurants, small business owners, even some of our bigger, chain stores didn't even make it during that time. And that is when a lot of things shifted. But in this case, it shifted to my favor in having an online business and in having the style of podcast that I have where it's very resonant. Is that a word? We're going to go with it. It sounded really smart. Where it is potent, it is vulnerable. We talk about the matters of the mind. We talk about trauma. We talk about our shit, whether it's me bringing on guests who talk about it or I'm talking about it. And it became a really safe place for people to tune in twice a week. And I made sure that I tailored my episodes around things that people were dealing with. And we had a lot of other stuff going on at that time. I mean, this brought up all sorts of things with people. And I didn't know if this was going to mean a decline in sales because people were in fear. And generally, when people go into fear, even people who have money end up holding on to their money, right? Like a lot of people get frozen. Most people get into some kind of a freeze state. And there's a lot of people in that now. Like honestly, I think 2025 is giving 2020. There's a lot of similarities in terms of buying behavior, people feeling overwhelmed, people taking longer to buy, people being in a lack of trust, lack of trust of others, lack of trust of themselves. A lot of people freeze when they're stressed. I don't freeze. I'm the opposite. I go into fight. And which what that looks like for me in my business is I went into action. I was like, listen, you're a trauma survivor. You're most trauma survivors are amazing in a crisis. Grounded, let's go. Listen, I've been bred for this. My entire life was a crisis. I know what to do here. And I had the capability because of my childhood and all the millions of years of therapy and other healing that I had done to hold space for people in this time that was above and beyond even business stuff. Because to think that you don't talk about other things when you do what I do as a business growth strategist, that would be insane. Because if you're the head of your business, and you have stuff going on, that's going to obviously play into your business. So there's a lot of mindset stuff, a lot of money trauma stuff, a lot of fear stuff that ends up getting covered inside my posse membership. And when people work with me in my more high level intimate containers right now, I have the biggest Black Friday sale going on of all time. This is when you go into the posse. This is now when you're spiraling. You know it's time to get it together. You kind of went off track. You want sustained support and expert guidance. You need help with accountability and getting the momentum and the money moving and growing and grooving. That is what the ProjectME Posse Business and Money Coaching membership is for. You can access all of the luxe bonuses plus $50 off your first month. And also keep in mind the Posse is $3.33 a day. Okay. With weekly live trainings. Plus, you have a library of almost all of my live and self-paced courses, my master classes on everything you need to go from zero to $15,000 a month online. So you starting from scratch, just like I did, like you're hearing in the series that I'm doing, and it works for any industry. All the details are in Virgo style on the Black Friday page at projectmewithtiffany.com/BF 2025. Now, there is a cap of the number of members I allow in the posse in order for me to refer to it as a group coaching program format in integrity. So if the page says it's full, it is full, and we cannot make any exceptions. I've had the membership at different sizes, and I have an idea of what size container it needs to stay at in order for people to have that feel, in order to get the accountability. This is not one of those memberships that you're just paying for information and you get lost and you don't use it. You show up every week. We fucking notice when you're not there. Okay. Other members notice. I'll even notice when you're not there. Not that everyone can make it every week live and you don't have to even attend live at all, but you've got the accountability of the people in the group. and we keep things moving while you continue to learn. I focus on teaching you income generating skills in there because you learn how to create profitable content. You learn how to show up on video, what to say, how to be able to create messaging and emails that actually move people in a non manipulative way to buy from you. You're in the money, honey, but it's a skill that you need to be taught. And if you want to set yourself up so that your success is inevitable and you're at that stage between 0 and 15,000 a month, the posse is a no-brainer. The annual membership, you save an additional $250. That makes it like $2 and something a day. And I truly would do the annual. I make more money off you if you do the month to month. So me telling you to do the annual is the best deal. Also, you will find when you swipe up in the show notes, that's the only way to offer to access, excuse me, my applications for my 2-month private business coaching program. I only take 4 people at a time. And this is the last time that I am having those applications open for this year. So you will see that application in there. And who is that for? You can be starting from scratch and still do private coaching, or you could even be someone who's in the high 6 figures wanting to go to 7 figures or 7 figures to 8 figures because it's completely customized to you. So that is the highest level way to work with me. Please don't apply for that unless you are looking for the holy grail. You are looking for the private jet to get you to where you want to go and make a significant dent of where you're wanting to move the needle in your business so that you get there faster versus inside the membership, you're getting guidance, but obviously it can't be customized to you. And so you are relying on yourself to do the follow through and the work. And yes, that is the case when you work with me on an intimate level as well. You have to do the work. I'm not dragging you along, but the level of accountability and the level of direction is precisely pinpointed to you, your industry, your ideal client, and the results that you're looking to get. So you can swipe up to access all of that. So we're in these crazy times. My podcast surged, other people's podcasts surged too, because all we could do was walk outside, or if you happen to have a treadmill at home, I was one of the people who overpaid for a Peloton. And now the Peloton is just sitting there and has been sitting there for 2 years or 3 years or who knows how long, where I've been paying for it this entire time. But that's okay because it was desperate times. We were in desperate times, people. I also went to an underground nail salon that like I literally had to say a password to get in because that was not kosher even with a mask in Los Angeles. But girl needed to get a fill, okay? And when I thought, gosh, who knows what's going to happen with sales because people get so afraid and then freeze. And I know there's a percentage of people that are like me that go into action, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And this is part of having a business. You have world events, you have unforeseen things. You can't predict everything. I wish you could. And you have to be able to shift and massage and move around based on what's going on. Just like if you have a close friend and they're going through shit, you have to shift your communication to best support that person. It's no different with your ideal client. I had to shift my topics, I had to shift the way that I came at things in order to best support you. I intuitively knew to do that from all of the healing work I've done, group therapy programs, me mentoring other people in healing programs. And because I already had that skill, it was a natural inclination to do that. The people who didn't do that and were avoiding talking about all the feelings and all the things people were going through, those people did not benefit. Those people did not do well. I got those listeners from those people. And that's where my show really took off and made it on the map where, now people are trying to get me on their show all the time. They want to get on my show all the time. And I went into action. So I'm popping with the guests. I'm going on these live like Zoom things that people are having to teach people stuff. I think that's when I hosted some of my first big Zoom free master classes and did that. And so more activity to the right people and more of the right activity, like aligned activity, you're going to have a lot more eyes on your stuff, and you have a lot more qualified eyes on your stuff, you're going to have a lot more sales. And so I'm talking like a giant increase, like even 800 to 1200% increase in sales. So now we're popping at the million. Now we're really, really popping. I made some mistakes in that time where out of the goodness of my heart, I took on too many private clients. I took on too many people in some of my programs because I wanted to help all the people. It wasn't just like, oh, I want all the money, but it was like people really wanted help and really wanted to get their businesses growing, and a lot of people weren't at their jobby jobs, or they were able to work from home, or they basically finally had time and space to sit there and really decide what they want for their life, because we were forced to be still, which is why I teach you the importance of allowing stillness and silence in your life, because that's when we can hear our inner guide. And we were forced into it, which I think so many of us needed. And people were like, no, I want to do my own thing. I want to do work that matters. I want to be in charge of my money. I don't want to be dependent on any person, place, thing, job, or for money ever again. I want to do this. And I'm here and I'm willing to invest in this, and let's go. And I didn't want to turn anyone away who was so hungry for it. So I had to learn that because I got really, really sick, and I got sick because my immune system was down. I mean, I got the vid. I call it the vid. I got the vid and I got hit with it hard. And I know it was because like I was also overdoing it with work at that time, but it's what also made me learn what are my boundaries. You have to kind of learn that. No one can tell you that. Like I can't tell you that even as a private client. I can give you my experience. I can give you the experience of the thousands of people I've coached, but ultimately you have to decide. Everyone's energy levels and thresholds are very different for how their business is set up and modeled. I don't teach, oh, there's one model. There is not one model. There's lots of models. And in the world of creating an online business and doing digital marketing, I tell people there's a bunch of stuff that works, there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't, and there's a gray area in between. And the gray area is what has to be customized to you and your ideal client and your goals and like the lifestyle that you're looking for. So, before this time in 2019, before the time of the dysentery, I did launch my signature program, Selling with Soul, for the first time. And it's crazy because this feels like 15 years ago to me. And some of this stuff I have to really sit with it to try to fully remember all of the details. But I'm 99% sure it was in 2000. It had to be 2019. And I don't remember when, maybe towards the end of it. And I was like, okay, I need to open things up. I need to open things up for more people. And so I did. I don't remember how many people were in that the first time. I feel like maybe 20. There were 20 people, and I was thrilled with that. I was like, I get to help 20 people in in the same in the same time and exchange of energy as I help one person. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like that's where I really saw like the compound effect of this, of okay, I really, really am getting and I'm experiencing how you can make such insane money online while not working yourself to the bone. And like I will always remind you, Bish has to work, but I work about 35 hours a week on ProjectME. And I think that's a pretty fair exchange for millions of dollars. Okay. And truly, I could position things even more indifferently and work even less. I am just not quite there yet. I'm moving some things around to do that. And I could probably get myself down to 25 hours a week. It's some of it's my control freak nature and me having to check every word of everything to make sure it's like perfectly on brand and genuine to me. And I probably get a little too crackadoo on that, but that's on me. That's not on the system. So I did that. Then I had all this exposure, right? Then I launched, right? I launched again selling with soul. I only do it once a year. Why do I do it once a year? It's not to create some urgency, although it naturally does create urgency. It's because I only have it in me to do it once a year. That's why. Because I go big. It's like I go big or go home. That's my vibe. And then I need a long reprieve. I'm a projector in human design. Which means we really don't want to work that much. But I will work as long as it's focused and my time isn't wasted. But I'm not going to work just to work. Some people get off on like constantly launching stuff, and that's not my style. And I respect you if you're into constantly launching. Um, I just I just don't do it, and my body doesn't like it, and it's not happening. So I launched it again, and I remember when I launched it that time, something major happened. Like we use we didn't use ClickFunnels at the time. We used something else. Was it like maybe Lead Pages? I mean, there wasn't Kajabi or anything at that point, but something like Lead Pages for the page for people to buy the actual thing, because this wasn't like sales calls. Like you buy it from a sales page, and their whole system went down worldwide. There was a lot of weird tech shit that happened during the dysentery time, and I mean, it was a nightmare. Obviously, I was losing sales. I wasn't equipped with people on my team to be handling like a snafu. Like I needed to staff up. I didn't have enough people to handle the amount of abundance that was coming in and when there's a problem. And I needed some more support on the team, or I should say maybe like higher level support. But my point in sharing these details with you is that notice I didn't just launch Selling with Soul once and say, oh, I only got 20 people. I'm not doing it again. I should actually put together another program and launch that now. No, I refined. I refined, massaged the messaging, assessed what could be done better, what we did well, relaunch, assess that we could do better, massage the messaging, relaunch. And, 2025, right? We launched it. We launched it again. It's launched once a year. And for me to have done that Selling with Soul program to get it done, because to do a signature program where you have like videos and workbooks and stuff, like that's the catch when it comes to like digital courses, digital offers. There's the work up front for a new program. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's tedious, but you sell it for years to come. So it's kind of like writing a book. A lot of work, but you can sell that for a lifetime. You can do updates and different editions and things. So a lot of people don't want to do the upfront work. It sounds really nice and sexy and I want a course, but then they procrastinate and they don't do it, or they don't know how to. It's like you can know what you're talking about, but if you don't create a program or a course or package it so people are eager and excited to buy it, they're not going to buy it. So you're going to have great intellectual property and a great heart and knowing how to help people, but then no one's going to buy it. The marketing and sales, I don't care what kind of entrepreneur you are. That is it. I mean, obviously the mindset, nervous system regulation in there too, but you don't have the skill of content marketing and selling, meaning packaging offers and knowing how to package them so you can, and knowing how to showcase them and share them with the people so they buy it. It doesn't matter how good your shit is. No one will be compelled. No one will be like eager to hand you their money. And I see this countless times with people. So if you're thinking that it's your offer or no one likes you or your shit is bad, and that's not what I've not seen that. At least with the people who come to me, I've not gone, "Oh no, you don't have like." I will go, "No, it's like your messaging is so generic There's nothing grabby or sticky in there, but you've not been taught. My guess is you've not learned that income generating skill. It is a fucking skill. Sales is a skill. Like people go into selling with soul because you get certified in my emotional based sales techniques. Like it's an actual fucking skill that people pay for. Like there's classes in school for it. Same with content marketing. Like, would you expect somebody to know how to like custom code a website? You have to go and get like many certifications to know how to do that. But for whatever reason, people in the online space, especially, like think that they're supposed to know how to be able to get their stuff to sell, like that they just need to create content and it needs to be content that gets a lot of views. Content that gets a lot of views doesn't convert into sales except maybe 1% of the time. That's like usually an anomaly. The content that converts to sales is usually the stuff that doesn't get as many views. And a lot of people don't want to post that content or don't have an appetite to post it because it doesn't give them the dopamine hit of all the views and or they don't know that that that's a thing. So a lot of my face to camera stuff, a lot of my carousels, they might even get, for my size audience, they might even get like 1,000 views, but the conversions are so much higher. And then I post something that's relatable and funny or whatever, and it gets thousands and thousands of views that doesn't convert. So don't don't think that that equals conversions, that views equal conversions. We do want visibility, but we have to also know how to message and package our stuff so we can monetize that visibility. I mean, that's also what I'm doing here. I am giving you the goods here, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't fucking keep coming back and be here, and I wouldn't even want to do this show. But I also have to pay for this show. The show's not free to put on in my energy and my time and literally in what we spend to produce the show. So I've got to sell things, but I have to be able to present it to you in a way where it's like, why wouldn't I be stupid not to be in Tiffany's membership with weekly live trainings and a majority of the time it's me doing the trainings, not someone else. I know a lot of people use like support coaches and stuff, and I'm not against that. I'm very picky. I have ProjectME certified coaches, but typically in the posse, you are getting me a majority of the time every single week for $3.33 a day. And if you choose the annual option, it's like $2 and something. So all the links to the biggest Black Friday sale I've ever done, you can swipe up in the show notes in the description here on YouTube at ProjectMe TV. I'm losing my mind. I decided to record a second episode, which is this. I decided to do chapter 3, and now I'm slowly regretting it. But we're going to keep going, people, because this is really vulnerable for me. And if I know I stop recording right now, we will not get to the goods. My goal is to make this chapter much shorter. I don't know why I don't know, me sharing all the details seems to, I know it takes longer. I just feel they're so fucking important for you guys to hear. But what, and listen, what are you going to do? If if you don't like it, you can let me know. And if you love it, I would appreciate you sharing it with an entrepreneur or someone who wants to be an entrepreneur so they can know what they're getting into and not in a negative way. It's just like the reality of it. So I kept launching selling with soul. So now I have that. I have the posse membership, which creates reoccurring monthly income. So does selling with soul. The first time, I don't think I offered any payment plan. I don't think I did, or it was like a 3 payment plan, something like that. Then I know I to make it more accessible to more people, I chose to do a 12-month payment plan with Tiffany operating as the bank. And then that created even more reoccurring income because now I have the people in the monthly posse membership. So let's just use the even numbers so my brain doesn't have to work that hard. So we've got, people paying $100 a month in there. A lot of people who are in the membership are in Selling with Soul. A lot of people in Selling with Soul go in the membership. My private clients go in the membership. People from the membership do they all work with each other, and that's offer stacking and what I teach. So your offers all work with each other, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. And this is why 90%, it's actually 92% of my clients are repeat buyers. They do multiple things I have, whether it's my in-person mastermind, whether it's a small intimate container, whether it's a membership, whether it's a self-paced course, and they're doing all the different things. And then think about that. Then your per customer value, how much you're making per person, ends up being in the thousands and thousands of thousands of dollars. It's a lot more work to acquire a new buyer than it is to have an existing buyer buy from you again and again. Why? Because the trust is already built. And in order for people to buy from you, trust is required. And that can happen as quickly as one video when you learn how I teach video marketing and how to do your videos. That can happen from one episode. Many of you have bought things from me off of one thing and you didn't know, you had no idea who I was before. And I've done the same thing with other people. When you know what it is that you're doing and you're coming from a sincere place and you're speaking from your heart and your offers are packaged in a way to where you know how to share and showcase them. So I had all of this reoccurring monthly revenue coming in. So it was like 297 a month payments from these people who were in my signature program. Then I had the $100 a month people coming in for my membership. Then on top of that, I had the people I was taking for my high ticket, for my private coaching. And then I think at that time I still was doing, I had like these 60-minute sessions. You can only do one. You can't like keep doing them. You get them one time. And I came up with that because I know there's some people who want to be able to test drive the car. They want one session with me. They have one specific issue that they want help with. And then they're also able to see on that call, like how it works, if it's a good fit. And then 9 times out of 10, they end up being a private client because it's like, oh, I want more of this. This was so valuable. So I think I had like that going on as well. You can see the compound effect. And it's not like I just named like 15 different offers. Okay. There weren't that many offers. I'd rather you have several quality offers that you keep refining and reworking than you having a whole bunch of offers all over the place that get you confused and you don't know what to talk about and when, or then you talk about too many of them and then people get confused and confused buyers don't buy. So I was making, I mean, that really took me to another level. That gave consistent income where I wasn't just dependent on like launching or doing a big, splashy sale for the posse like I'm doing right now with the Black Friday sale. I had just a consistency going on. I think by the time we hit 2020, I would say for sure I'm in the hundreds now, like probably like 150 members in the posse. Maybe 150, it fluctuates to 175. So you can do the math on that. For how many hours a month did I say? Maximum 7 hours a month. And I was bringing in about $15,000 a month. Are you willing to work 7 hours in exchange for $15,000? But you have to keep building that membership over time, and it might take you a year to get there. In fact, it likely will take you a year to build up to that. Would you be willing to do that? Or are you like, no, I need to have it now. I need to see that in 3 months. I need to have it in 6 months, or it's not worth it to me. This is why most people quit and your shit doesn't work because it feels so uncomfortable in the in between. It feels so uncomfortable when you're paddling out and you want the wave and you're not catching the wave and you're not catching the wave and you're not catching the wave and everyone else is catching the wave and you're the dumbass who's not catching the wave. And then you end up taking your foot off the brakes or the foot off the gas and then now you've created it so now you're even less likely to catch the wave. So now you created a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what I watch happen over and over and over again. And then there's a percentage of you who've maybe done that and caught yourself and you're like, no, fuck this. I want this. I know this exists. I see other people doing it. I'm talented. I actually am more talented and knowledgeable than a lot of these people that I see are doing it. And I need to get in the game and I need to do it properly. And I need to set myself up to have the sustained support and guidance in order to do so. So I stack the odds in my favor of catching the damn wave. And then that's when you come to me. right? That's when you join the posse. If you're there now, join the damn posse right now. There's no other time this year that I do anything like this where you get $50 off the first month and over $2,800 in Lux bonuses. That that does not happen. If you're really bored, you could go through all of my content and see that Tiff's right. This is the only time of year that that happens. And the fact that it's the last chance for you to apply to work with me privately in 2026 period for 2026 and the end of 2025. And you can swipe up, and that application for my exclusive 2-month private business coaching program is inside of the show notes. And that is the only place to access that unless it gets sent out in email. So don't think, oh, I'll just go look in her bio later. It's not there. Okay. And I do that on purpose. And we're getting to that point because when I surged in visibility, and I kept surging, I had to create more gatekeeping to my energy and to me while still maintaining an intimate relationship with all of you, because if I didn't manage my energy, I wouldn't be able to scale. If I didn't have more gatekeeping in place, I wouldn't be able to function to be able to do what I need to do and hold the space for all the people that I want to hold the space for. And so we couldn't have any of my private coaching stuff, even my small group coaching stuff. We could not have that publicly. Once in a while, I'll put it up for like a couple days, and then I take it down because you end up getting, and this is something I had to learn because I would never do this to somebody, and I know some of you listening have experienced this. People will do something like fill out an application, even to something that they heard. This is the highest level way to work with her. This is for people who truly are at a point where they are going to invest in themselves at that level because they want it customized. They want to do it right. They want to have it be efficient. They don't want to waste any more time. And I'll even say, like, please don't waste my time. And there are people who will fill out applications just to make themselves feel like they've done something or just to see if they get accepted, or worse yet, just to see how my process works so that they can maybe copy it instead of paying me. And I'll tell you. And then they end up doing things like not showing up for calls or not responding to an email. And it's like doesn't make sense. Well, the more you are loosey goosey with your stuff, the more bottom feeder people you're going to get that do that. You're going to have other people who don't respect boundaries when your boundaries aren't tight enough. Do you get what I'm saying? So I had to really tighten my boundaries, and I had some stuff I had to work through my therapist on it and my coach because I kind of felt guilty being that boundaried off because I want to help everybody. Well, when you try to help everybody, you fucking help nobody, and you certainly don't help yourself. And so I had to really, really tighten the ratchet on that. So that's why it's done that way. And until you have to get it to a certain number of volume and interest to experience that. And if that's happening, or you're attracting people who are broke, who have a lot of excuses, another fun personal development thing of being an entrepreneur, you attract what you are. And it might not be what you're consciously thinking, but your subconscious has stuff. So if you're attracting fear based people, people with, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, even if you're someone who's not thinking that, there's something going on with you subconsciously or energetically that's attracting that in. And anytime I start seeing I'm getting people coming in that are like just a really weird quality, like not my norm, I always have to check myself first, and there's always an attunement that needs to happen. We're really at energetic frequencies. We attract what we are. That's why I always say like attracts like. And we laugh in the posse membership because we're all the land of the misfit toys in all the best of ways. The creative thinkers, the highly sensitives, the empaths, the neurodivergents, like they're all in there, which is so fun. And it's because like attracts like. And it is natural, and I also know I'm speaking to you, right? My messaging is tailored to you, my ideal client. Therefore, I'm attracting you. But if your message isn't detailed and specifically tailored to attract what you want to attract, you're going to go fishing and you're going to not just attract, a couple. Oh God, why am I even using this as an example? I don't know. You're going to attract a couple tuna, a fucking diaper, a plastic bottle, a tire, you know, some crabs. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to make sure that the lure that you're using is the right lure for the people you want, which is also a skill. And I keep reminding you of that because I don't want you to think that you're supposed to know that. If you have not studied this and you've not been certified in this and you've not been taught this and you've not practiced this over and over and over again, why would you be any good at it? You wouldn't, but it's a critical thing you need to get good at. And the better you get at it, the more money you make, which is exactly why I focus on those things in any way you work with me. Because more information is just more information. That spins most of you out. That kind of makes you feel like you're doing anything when you're doing nothing. You need to actually get into implementation. You need to take action on the right information. And that's when you see results. Staying in constant learning mode, that's a form of hiding. And it's a very clever thing that our brains do and convince us that that's like the right thing to do. It's very fascinating. So many things I've learned about myself in this journey. I remember during the dysentery times when I finally lost it. I mean, I went cuckoo. I was not thriving during this time. I went cuckoo and I said, you know what? Fuck this. And I left a relationship. That's when I decided to rent an oceanfront beach house in Los Angeles. I was terrified to do it. It was a major up level. I mean, it was been a dream of mine for I can't even tell you how many years, maybe even 20 years on my vision board to have a house on the Strand and a house on the ocean. And it was either 15,000 a month or it was 17.5. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. It was fucking a lot of money. And that was wild to me. My starting pay was $17,000 a year. And it was like that's how much I was paying just for that. On top of I have another house, on top of I have a car, on top of I have a business, on top of I have people to work for me. Like what? Like that's insane. But I was in so much discomfort and pain and craving freedom and really wanting to embrace life. Like I had to do something different. I had to do something drastic. I was fucking drowning. And it wasn't because of my business. It was because of my relationship and the world. And I was someone who was almost too rigid in the sense of like being too practical and too pragmatic and too chipmunky with my money. And I said, fuck it. And I was scared and I did it. And you know what happened when I did that? I went to another identity level. I had a time I that was the final thing in the quantum leap that I had then. That had to happen. I had to let go of things that were no longer serving me, which was beyond scary. I hired my life coach, who's a dear friend of mine to this day, in order to help me because I knew I couldn't do it alone. And I went into like a mastermind and some other program. I knew I needed to have a lot of support. And my income went insane. Another growth of like 800 to 1200% because I felt abundant. That's when I really realized how wild this energy thing is. I felt abundant. I felt free. I felt expansive. And even though that was a lot of money to put out, I just knew that it would come back. I knew there would be a way. And because I knew that and I believed that and I trusted that that was the way. And that's when I had my first in-person event, which was terrifying for me. I'm not an in-person event kind of gal, but I really wanted to do it and I wanted people to experience like the magic in person and the connection and everything in person. And that one event paid for about 6 months, paid for 6 months of that rental just from doing that. Plus, that also made that rental tax write off. So there were so many things that happened that allowed me for that to be a new normal for me. For me to spend that kind of money on my lifestyle actually became normalized. And I rose up to meet it. And my frequency rose up to meet it. And then even more opportunities came and more opportunities came as a result of that. And I continued to rise up and I continued to go to lean in and to lean in. And then I had, then I started having masterminds and renting mansions on the beach for the masterminds because I was like, I don't know if I want to have it at the house. And I just started experimenting with doing different lengths of masterminds and programs to see which containers felt good to me. And not just my ideal clients. Of course, I want it to feel good to you guys. But if it doesn't feel good to me, ultimately, then why am I doing it? But sometimes you don't know that. Most times you don't know that until you do it. So I had to practice all of that. But we had so much. Think of all the shifts that occurred psychologically within you between even 2018 and now. That's a lot. Imagine if I kept my messaging the same and my topics the same and everything the same. First off, it'd be boring. But we've had so much go on because we had the times of the dysentery. Then we had the weird period where we were like allowed to go do things, but we kind of like had to jump through all these hoops and we didn't fully trust it. And then we had the time, it was like 2023 was like where it was like $17,000 a ticket to go to Italy that summer. You know, we had I call it like the fuck it year, where people were spending money that they had and that they didn't have because it was like we were like caged animals letting ourselves out. And there was that time period. And that is what was so incredible during that time. And this was not planned, in that I had someone who worked for me, and I had a lot of you guys, thank you, that, TikTok was born in the dysentery times. And I just thought it was like dumbass 13-year-olds, doing dances. And there was a lot of that. But I'm someone who says this about everything. I thought Instagram was stupid. I don't want to see your vacation photos. I'm not an early adopter of things. Now, I will tell you I've gotten a lot better because had I been an early adopter of podcasting, an early adopter of an email list, an early adopter of Instagram, of TikTok, let me tell you something. I would I would we're getting close to like my first goal of 10 million net worth. We're very close to it. I'd be at 20 for sure if I'd been an early adopter. So I promise myself if there's a new thing. Although there was when Clubhouse came around, that never felt good to me. If something really doesn't feel good to me, I always trust my instincts. And it didn't, and I don't even know if it exists anymore. So I had a lot of you saying to me, "Oh my God, you'd kill it on TikTok. You'd kill it on TikTok." I had someone who worked for me that kept saying it. I even had her, teach, because she got into TikTok and was like loving it. And I even had her teach it at one of my masterminds. And we were all like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this. And I even had someone who is a TikTok coach on the podcast. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I didn't do it. It felt heavy to me. I felt resentful. It felt like I had to do more free content than I already do. And it's like, I don't want to have to be responsible for doing more content when I already do so much. But like I say all the time on here, when we ask ourselves better questions, we get better answers. When we ask ourselves victim-y questions, we end up stuck, right? Like, well, I don't want to have to do that. Do you really have to do that in order to have a business? How about asking, how can I get on this app without it spending a lot of energy or time on my part initially, but where I'm not toe dipping in it? Because I know that's a waste of time to toe dip on an app. Don't bother then. It's just not worth it. It won't work. And to think that it can is toxic delusion or someone's fantasy marketing you. It just won't. It's an all-in play. And every app is different. And I knew that all in for TikTok, I know a minimum of an all in is one post a day. Okay. And it has to be, you know, pretty specific to that platform. And so I was like, oh God, I don't have it in me. But how can I do it? Because I'm hearing from enough of my people like that they really want me on there. Everyone's like, you're crushing on there. And I started learning more about it. And so I got educated on it and I understood why people were saying that because it's basically like the more unhinged you are, the more raw and real you are. Those are the people who do well. The performative people, the people who've kind of like been in the online space a long time, like the basic bitches, they don't do well on there. And they don't. They might have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and they can't get much traction on over on TikTok still to this day. So I was like, okay, maybe these are my people. How can I do this? How can I leverage any existing content I have, but where it will still work for that platform? Notice I didn't say, can I just repurpose my content? Okay. You can, there's some things you can repurpose strategically, but repurposing just to repurpose, that's cutting a corner. And cutting a corner doesn't work when building a house. It ends poorly and it won't work for you in building your business either. So I was like, is there any content? And I woke up with an idea because I planted the seed to the universe and I always trust that the answer will come. And I woke up and I went, oh my God, the longer form, like face to camera videos are seeming like that's a thing on. And what about my old IGTV videos? Those are all saved in an iCloud folder. And even though like, and even though I'm like look crazy in them, well that like people want you to look real and unfiltered on there. So maybe it'll work. So I paid someone on my team to post them for me so that I did not need to like spend my time doing that. And I just was willing to experiment. Let's see if these work. And I don't remember the maximum length. I think the maximum length was 5 minutes or something at that time. I'm not 100% sure because my IGTVs could be quite long. And when I first started on TikTok, it was April, I believe, of 2023. Okay. And I had like 700 followers just because I told people I was starting on it. And so people came over like from the podcast and from Instagram. But like the stuff that was being posted on there was like, I mean, if you're really bored, you could go all the way back. It was like, more like experimenting. Like, oh, I'm just gonna like, learn the tools of and like learn how to like do stuff on here once in a while. And literally once in a while, typically when I took a gummy. Like there was no posting every day. Then when I made the decision to go all in and to have these videos posted, repurposed from IGTV, which IGTV was already gone. They just were in a folder somewhere. This is why you need to keep all of your digital assets. I mean, it's worth it. I know you have to pay for the storage, but you'll want that shit someday, even to use it as a reference of look at where I've been and where I am now, kind of a before and after thing. And I was in my now second beach house. So instead of like renting this house on the ocean where it was like a more of like a vacation rental, I signed a year lease down at the beach, which was scary, made it like official, and I was in a different beach house with a gorgeous ocean view, balcony, whole thing. And I remember because I'm not a morning person. I am the waking up earlier and earlier now, but I was very much not then. And I get a text from someone on my team saying, you're going viral on TikTok. Like you went viral overnight. And I was like, okay. Like I didn't really get what that meant. I went viral. I could probably count 5 times in the entire time I've had my Instagram, just so you know. So going viral is not required to make millions of dollars. I literally 5 times, and that's it. So it was like, okay, like what does that even mean? And she's like, you have to go look. And I wasn't even looking. Talk about being practicing law of detachment. I wasn't even looking at my TikTok. I was having someone post. I didn't care. I said, take these videos and put them on there. And like, she put them on with like a hook line and the captions and shit. And I didn't even look. I wasn't someone who scrolled that app, which is so funny because now I have a problem. Like I could be on that app all day. I fucking love it. And I didn't, it was totally detached. It didn't matter to me. Like I wanted it to do well, but like which is key in this, is detaching from it. I wasn't sitting there looking to see how every video was doing. Some of you need to pay someone else to post so you don't go and look, and it'll really make a big difference. Because it doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter. Because it's not any one video that's going to do it. It's the cumulative effect, it's the compound effect of all of it. So I went to look, and this was after, by the way, I think 6 weeks of posting. It was 6 weeks or less of posting. That's it. And it was posting, it might even be way less than that, but I'll just say 6 weeks. And it was posting one a day, 6 days a week. And I went on and I went, what? I had 150,000 followers from 700 over fucking night. It wasn't even 24 hours later. And it was just going. It was still going at the time. It was still going, 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 go. It was wild. And I think it got to like, I don't know. I mean, then what happened is when we went and did still IGTV, we posted other videos. Then I was going at least viral twice a week. Insane, 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 insane. I mean, wild crackadoo. Now we've hit another abundance problem. My inbox is blowing up. My DMs are blowing up. I'm getting people want me on their podcast. People want to be on my podcast. People want me to go on TV. I mean, I'm talking so inundated, and I crashed out. I ended up in a fetal position. I was rocking. I was terrified. The level of visibility and the pressure of it totally freaked me out. I've never had that level of visibility. Keep in mind, I'm a former TV newscaster, but that's a very different kind of visibility than when you're showing up and it's you and it's your personal brand versus like reading a teleprompter of the news. Totally crashed out. I mean, crashed out. My ner- I gained a bunch of weight, like an inflammation. My body was trying to protect me. I had at that before that happened, I had up like an application. I think it was for like my mastermind or something. Hundreds and hundreds of applicants. And you would think that's a great thing. Well, okay, it's an abundance problem, but also like that's a lot of people to go through. And we had to go through them. I know I have a business. I can't like not, we can't not go through them, but I didn't have the infrastructure of people to go through them. We had to go through them, and then then there had to be calls, and I didn't have anyone else helping me with sales calls at that time. So then I had to hire someone to help me with the sales calls, and I couldn't handle that on my own. And then that's when I learned we have to take the applications for higher ticket things like that. Those can't be in my link in bio because now I have too big of an audience, and you'll have people that just apply just to see if they get in, to apply to make themselves feel like they've done something, to apply just to kind of figure out your process, and a lot of wasting time. So that also freaked me out, because then I had this underlying belief, which was uncovered by me working with a subconscious mindset coach that I hired because I didn't want to stay frozen like that. And I knew there was something going on. And that's when I realized like I had a fear of high visibility because of being raised by a narcissist. I had to shine in order to keep her happy and make her look good, but I couldn't outshine her. And if I outshined her, the abuse was really bad. And so I was really, really shining. And that read in my nervous system subconsciously as dangerous, and bad things are going to happen. And some bad things did happen. Almost all the things were amazing. But of course, there's going to be bad things that happen. Bad things happen in life. And so there were bad things that happened because when you're dealing with that many humans, 1 to 3% of people are nuts. So that 3% equals more people when you're dealing with numbers like that, millions and millions and millions of views constantly. And so there were people like signing, my email list surged. I mean, I was getting 500 to 1,000 people signing up for my Secret Posse weekly digest that I have. If you're not on that, I'm telling you, you're missing out. That's tea is spilled on there. Let me tell you. And tea at the right time. If you're signing up, which you fucking better be at this point, for the Black Friday sale for the posse, you'll automatically get put on that list. ProjectMeWithTiffany.com/BF 2025. All the links to all the resources I'm mentioning are in the show notes here on Apple, Spotify, other platforms, and then on YouTube, it's in the description at Project Me TV. And the Secret Posse Weekly Digest is free. So look at it like that's like my blog, but it's all me writing it. This isn't like some AI bullshit. Like I include like photos from my camera roll, like shit I don't share and my other in my public platforms. So we're getting tons of emails, but then we were also getting people replying to my emails saying things like fuck you. I'm not joking. Then I had people coming from Ghosts from Christmas Past because now I'm so visible and I've gone on been interviewed on like major radio stations, being interviewed on TV, and then I'm being interviewed on other bigger podcasts, and then these people are seeing me from like high school, like X's upon X's upon X's ago. People are trying to ask me for money. I mean, it was wild. I had to get an advanced security system on on my house. I mean, that kind of shit. So you could see why I kind of ended up in that spot. And then I started doing fresh content on TikTok because obviously those IGTV videos were going to run out at some point. And so then I started doing fresh content and I started talking about, thank God I had that other content because when I had the fear of visibility, that other content was being used. If I had to create fresh videos during that time, ooh, I don't know if I could have done it. That's also the beauty of saving stuff. And then I started doing videos on being transparent about what happened and the fear of visibility and the fear of being seen. Then those went viral. And so you can see, and then, but the beautiful thing is my membership, the posse, went to a whole nother level. My podcast I beat out like major shows. Like I was number 2 in the entire world for podcasts of all categories. Not joking you. For several weeks, like Joe Rogan level shit, like crazy. Because the rankings are heavily based on like new listeners and new downloads. It's not like overall, because overall his show's obviously like way bigger than mine. Um, and I mean, I was beating Gary Vanderchuck, way ahead of Tony Robbins, ahead of any, I mean, insane, 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 insane. And that is what took me to top 5 in 57 countries regularly, repeatedly. And my people came. And then from there, the posse surge where we started hitting our max. That's when I learned like we had our max occupancy in there, and like we had to like turn people away from there. And I was making millions. I was making, you guys, $10,000 a day on TikTok minimum. No joke. 7 days a week. I'm not kidding you. It was wild. I was bringing in, and I'm saying was because there's an there's another part to the story which I think that'll be chapter 4, and there's another part to the story of what happened, and I'm not sure what we'll name it. I don't really love the idea of naming it the crash. I might name it the stall. Ooh, there was we'll get into that in chapter 4. But $10,000 a day, and not for a couple weeks. I'm talking banana land. I mean, it was insane. And then I had to learn a whole nother thing, a whole nother level. I got put in the highest tax bracket there is. I was already in the next to highest. It was in the highest. And then it was like, then I started having to pay weekly taxes. And then I had to enhance my tax team. And then I started experiencing what that's like when you're growing at that level. And then that also created resistance in me because it felt like more work and more responsibilities. Although I liked the money and I liked helping all the people and I liked the exposure, it felt like it felt like too much for me. And I was white knuckling it, is how I was holding on to it. I was appreciative while I was white knuckling, and it was a true like hitting I knew I was hitting an abundance cap, and I didn't want to hit it. I didn't want to do that, but it felt like so much. I mean, people constantly, I've had my same phone number for a million years. When you're successful and you have visibility, people knew all, like most people knew like Tiff's got cash. But when you add the visibility and you add the cash, it's funny how all these fucking people who made fun of you, weren't there when you were growing, wouldn't turned you down to be a guest on the podcast when it was new, didn't ask you to speak on their fucking stages. They're all coming out of the woodwork. I thought of you the other day. I saw this and I was thinking of you. That's like the most common one I get. Yeah, you're thinking of me because you're fucking seeing me everywhere and you're wanting to leverage my audience. And that's where I also learned, like when they call it the price of fame, and it's a micro level on what actual famous people experience. Now I get why they have to have so many gatekeepers and why so many of them don't leave the house. And then I started getting recognized everywhere. And then that felt weird to me. Like I love meeting you guys in person. Don't get me wrong. Like now I'm totally comfortable with it. But I it felt really, really weird to me. And it felt super uncomfortable and I felt awkward. And then I started becoming a hermit crab because of it, because I was like I'm kind of in a bad mood, or I'm feeling fat, or I'm not, like, I don't want to have to, like, make small talk, and I don't want people to think I'm being a bitch. I just like I just don't, I'm not in a great mood. And so then I wouldn't go out. Meanwhile, I'm being flooded with opportunities, cash, you name it. Grateful for it. This is what I asked for. And what you ask for also comes with other stuff. It's the light and the shadow side. And we'll get into that in chapter 4. But just know your life can truly change really overnight for the good. I know people say that about like bad stuff, but for the good, your life can change overnight. Think of that. Overnight, within literal days, started making $10,000 a day. Overnight, from a post I did on IGTV from 2019, repurposed in April of 2023. How about that? How about them apples? And then subsequent going viral after that with other ones. And let me tell you, you look at some of these, I mean, I'm talking in my least attractive era. Like me, because there was still IGTV during, I think in 2022. I don't know, but it was not attractive because there weren't even filters. I mean, it was like I had eyebrow blindness, okay? And it didn't matter. I hope that does something for you guys. Like, it doesn't matter. And if you've not gone to my TikTok at Project Me with Tiffany, I mean, there's now, I have tons of scammers and spammers that are pretending to be me. I have now about 388,000 followers on there. You have to look really closely at the handle, but if you're on my Secret Posse Weekly Digest email list, all of my social accounts are linked at the bottom of every email so that you can be sure it's me. And I will never DM you. I will never sell you Bitcoin. I don't invest in Bitcoin. And lots of these scam accounts that I don't know why they're still happening and why they're not taken down and why I'm not verified on that app. But maybe I'll get a Christmas present this year and it'll happen. But that's more stuff that comes, that comes with that, you know. But then there's also all of this great stuff. But just like with anyone who experiences surge in wealth, surge in fame, the what do they call it? Like 5 minutes of fame. You get a surge, you're the hot thing at the moment. You're the hot book, you're at the top of the bestseller, you have the top album, you got the top movie. No one stays at the top forever, because life ebbs and flows. And sometimes it crashes and burns, and you're gonna hear how, example of how it ebbs and flows, and how I handled it. And you hear some of it today, but I want to normalize that for you. No one's always raking it in. Nothing, no one, not everything everyone touches always turns to gold. Anyone who's making it look like that is lying. It's not possible for the greatest thinkers, philosophers, music artists, actors, activists in the world. So why would that be possible for some rando online? You know what I'm saying? All right, love you so much. Go get into the posse, see what it's about, see why it's famous. Come in here. You can do the month to month if you're a commitment phobe. And if you really want to save money and truly commit to yourself for a year and have that consistent support, do the year because it's a much better deal. And then you want to work with me on a high level and you want customized coaching and you want my eyes on your stuff solely, then you can apply the last time this year for my 2-month exclusive private business coaching program. And that application link is also in the show notes. Love you.